Good morning, campers. Welcome to Tommy's Holiday Camp. Oops, wrong movie. My name is Swami, otherwise known as Bruce P. Grether.
And I'm Nimbas.
We're going to continue now going through the 9 realities of Stardust just briefly one by one. And so this time we're going to be talking about reality number 3, which is all worlds are equally real and equally imaginary.
Okay, kids, so we're on page 81, totally alive beyond stories. An important consideration as you explore the 9 realities of Stardust is a basic philosophical question: what is real? Also, its sibling query: what is reality? Realities are whatever you experience in your nervous system, and it may not correspond with what others experience. Everything is not an illusion. The idea that everything is an illusion is oversimplified. Closer to the truth is the recognition that everything you imagine to be out there, beyond the bounds of your embodiment, actually consists of images in your own mind. The mental model of the world around you is based upon your sensory perceptions, combined with your thoughts assembled into imagery by your brain. Most accurately, it is all in your mind.
Yeah, this particular
This moment comes from mind. This moment itself is mind.
That's good. That's a great statement. And
I didn't make that up, but anyways.
But before we launch into further discussion, I just want to mention that this, like all the others, this third reality of Stardust comes from developmental stages, and this is the stage in which young children are really beginning to learn what we call symbol manipulation and manual manipulation. Children are learning to modify their environment, to use tools, and also learning to read and write after they learn to communicate verbally. This is called symbol manipulation. It sounds like a fancy term, but what it really means is just using your hands and your vocal cords and your eyes and your mind to communicate with symbols and to learn through symbols. Yeah. Yeah.
Very important tool. Very important. Number 2 pencil. Ticonderoga. Anyways.
Yes,
yeah.
Number 2 pencils rock. They're great, but also the thing about this is that the idea that all worlds are equally real and equally imaginary kind of brings up the matter of fiction and nonfiction in terms of stories and writing. What do you think about that?
Well, that is something I have learned from you, Swami. And I am a non-fiction person, and I always have been. I think I've said in the past that
Sure.
I'm an amateur historian.
Right.
Anyways, and you are a fiction person. You write fiction. Number 1. And I've learned that they're really, one is as important as the other. And furthermore, the older I get, the less difference there is that I can see between fiction and nonfiction. I mean, in a sense, history is it's partially fictive because we weren't there, and it's just from the materials, the artifacts, the documents, whatever they have, the archaeology, and then someone 1,500 years later writes a story about it. It's a story.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
I have spoken.
Well, that's what I learned when I went back to school in 1990 after 17 years as the dropout. Confession, but
Oh, that's okay.
well, no, it was great. It wasn't
I'm
okay.
still
It
a
was
dropout.
wonderful.
So
I know, bless your heart.
never stopped. Yeah.
But you never stopped learning. That's why you're a very interesting and
Well,
amazing
thank you.
person. But anyway, when I went back to school, I got my degree in English with a creative writing concentration to work on my writing and make it more professional, which it's getting better all the time, I think, because I keep doing it. But my second field was history. And one of the things I I've always loved history, as you do, but what I really learned about it is history isn't completely objective and factual
Right.
in the sense
Exactly.
of absolute facts, because it is the stories we tell ourselves about what happened.
Mhm.
And it may be fact-based, there may be a lot of evidence, and like you say, documents and physical evidence of things, but it's still the story we're telling ourselves about what happened, you know?
Or it
And
may
I love it.
be
I love it. But
it may be defending the agenda of a certain group,
Oh,
usually
totally.
the winners.
As they say, the winners, for example, Cleopatra. A lot of what the Romans wrote about Cleopatra tells us a great deal about Cleopatra, but we have to see it through the filter of how prejudiced they were. They were terrified of
Tells us
this
a lot
woman.
about the Romans
She
too.
practically took over the world successfully twice with Julius Caesar and Marcus
They
Antonius.
didn't like a powerful woman who spoke several languages and had a lot of political power. Once, one of the high
brilliant
points
woman. Yeah.
I saw her. There was a document. I don't know where this came from, but there was a picture of it, and she had written. And they thought it was her handwriting, and it said, I believe it's genoito, or the Greek word for "let it be done," and she was saying, you know, this was the government order or whatever that they had drafted for her, and she looked at it and she wrote, "Let it be done," which is like today when a judge or a court would say, "So ordered."
Like Jean-Luc
and she would
Picard.
put her seal on it.
Jean-Luc Picard says, "Make it so." The captain
Who says that?
Jean-Luc Picard, the captain of the Starship
Oh,
Enterprise.
right, okay.
Make it
or,
so.
Like I say when I think I'm a judge, so ordered.
Yeah, and whether or not it was, that was an actual document that was directly related to Cleopatra, it indicates her attitude. She believed she was the goddess Isis, and this gave her tremendous power. She was.
Well, she's also the queen of Egypt, so she did have political power. But I think that's one of the things the Romans didn't like, was a woman.
Well, but at the same time, Egypt was a protectorate of Rome. It was not yet a province. The province of Egypt came after Cleopatra because they were so terrified that she almost took over the empire. If she had maintained her control on those men, she had them by the cojones, as we know, literally.
Mm-hmm.
She would have been able to take over the known world entirely, and she was empowered by a lot of belief.
And that just made them see red.
So that a lot of the stories they wrote were kind of to verify this idea that Egyptian women are scary, they're witches, they have lots of magic power, and they're dangerous, and they believed that. But
that sounds familiar.
Yes, but at the same time, there are stories about her that the Romans told that have a lot of truth. Like when she was traveling up the river to meet Marcus Antonius, and the description of her barge and stuff, there's reason to believe some of that is quite true. I mean, it was spectacular. She was really good at PR. She was good at PR. But anyway, again, this whole thing illustrates what we're talking about, that all stories are equally real and equally imaginary. Those qualities, you can't really totally sort them out, I mean, I sometimes say that, as you have mentioned this several times in our discussions, that truth is subjective because we are not objects, so how can we be objective, is kind of how I put it. That's playing with words, as you sometimes, point out we're doing here.
Pet peeve. But anyways, in my experience, leave the men in the dust. The women are, they may have
It's true.
invented networking. I see this
Well,
every day in my life. They
sure.
know what's going on, and we may be like, duh, you know.
Well, and men accuse women of chattering all the time, but the reason that partly that's because the men are so clueless about a lot of things because they're sitting
Bingo.
there,
Yep.
they're sitting there like, and the
It's
women,
like an Irish
the women,
family. The men are strutting around. They think they're officially they're running things, but really the women are running things from the kitchen.
the women
But
know what's going on a lot.
yeah,
So those
yeah.
kind of men who can chatter a lot, like you and me. At least we're communicating, and we're also listening. It's funny, as talkative as you and I are, we kind of hear each other. I think we're not just completely ignoring
Oh,
what the
it's
other one
important.
says.
Deep listening. That's
Yes,
another one of my favorite people. What's his name? Thich Nhat Hanh. Deep
he's the
listening.
great one. Yeah,
You're listening. You're not just listening to the words. You're listening to the person.
yeah. Good point.
Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
because the person is what's behind the words and the
Right,
presence of that
right,
person. Sure.
right. And you are relating, you are listening, deeply listening to them with compassion, which means
Right.
putting yourself in their position and feeling what they're feeling.
Thank
And
you.
then doing this, we network.
Yeah.
We network. We get everybody's together, and we're
Yeah.
all, so that it becomes like an orchestra playing a symphony. I don't know if I'm getting too far afield here.
No, that's good. That's good.
Like that, you know?
Like
And
that. Like that. I love it when you say that. Like that.
me too. That's my cue to tell myself to be quiet, stop lecturing. But,
Bye-bye,
all right.
kids.
Bye. Bye, kids. I love you. Peace and love.
We love you.